All right, so first things first, in order to work on the oil filter cooler relocation thing, I need to get that filter out of there and drain whatever little bit of oil is at that end. So I'm going to find my drip pan so I can do that, and then we'll get that oil cooler out of there. All right. I don't know if the new mic sounds better or worse. Sounds weird when I listen back to it. I don't know. But that's the oil filter. We're going to go ahead and get that out of there. I got my drip pan here. I do have the black plastic ones, but I like this one because it allows me to see if there's any other stuff in it as well. But so we'll get that out, and well, I have to order a filter. Luckily, I use the Bosch one. I don't use the stock Hyundai one. I change these. I usually have a few on hand, so guess I must have been out. Just didn't realize I needed to reorder. But all right, let's pop that out of there. All right, a couple of turns, it starts to leak. I usually, when the car does that, I usually just let whatever oil's dripping out until it stops dripping, and then I go ahead and take the filter all the way out. You can go ahead and undo it all the way, but then you have oil running down your arm, and that's just miserable. So it's not a race. Just take it slow and easy. And I use Motul low ash oil. That's better for the turbos, apparently. So, all right, I'll be back in a minute when I can finish getting this thing out of here. All right, now that I got the filter out of the way, I just got to get that nut out of there. I'm not sure what size it is. So once I go through some tools and figure that out, we'll get that old coolant oil cooler out of there. All right, so I just checked my toolbox. I have a socket that is deep enough to fit and feels to be close to being the right size. I don't know if it's supposed to be metric or standard, but this 1 3/16 seems to work pretty well. We'll get that nut backed off there real quick. All right, so it actually comes out fairly easy. Just take your time so you don't bung up the threads. And it's got some more of that gray, whatever it is on the end of the little nut right there. Or not the nut, but the end of the threaded part there. So it does hold. You can't just, once you break it free, you can't spin it by hand. You'll have to use your wrench to get it off, but just take your time so you don't screw up the end. And then when you put it back in, you just want to make sure that you get it back on. So don't see too much more oil coming out, so that's a good thing. We'll go ahead and clean that up and get ready for the Mishimoto part that's going to replace it. All right, so I bought a universal 19-row silver. That seems to be the part number. Can't show you the side of the box because it's got my address on it. It's actually not a very big oil cooler, so it should fit in that hole very nicely. That comes with 2 lines. It comes with, I believe this vacuum line is for something else, but we'll see. Okay. Yeah, I believe these were my original lines for my car, because there's no reason to have vacuum lines. I believe those were my turbo lines that I replaced with some silicone ones. So what else we got in here? Some paperwork, some A&N fittings. Looks like there's 4 of them. Yep. And that should be the part we're looking for. So this will replace the coolant one. So let me get this out of here. Yep. That's the new one. So that's going to just replace that. And quick note, you reuse that center bolt, so your oil filter will remain the same. All right, so I'm going to get this set up, figure out which ends go to which part, because it looks like there are 4 of these ends. So 2 of them go on the cooler, 2 of them go on the adapter. They send me some all-purpose machine oil. I guess we put that on there. Singer. So it's a sewing machine, liquid silicone. That's funny. Okay. All right. So let's kind of assemble this. I'll look through these packets to see if there's any torquing information. I looked online. I didn't see anything. So I was really surprised. I didn't find anybody who had installed one of these on a Veloster first gen. All right. So very little instructions here. So the black one is this guy right here, and the other black one has the exact same part number. So we have a 4-foot line and a 5-foot line, and that's pretty much what we got. So we're going to go ahead and just hand tighten everything, because I do not have a A&N wrench. So I'm going to order one up, get it here in a day or two so I can snug everything down. But I'm going to be probably fiddling with the fitment once I get the lines sort of laid up in there anyway. So, all right, so let me kind of pre-assemble this and then see about getting the sandwich plate back up in the motor. All right, so got the old oil cooler out, and here hanging out in the bucket. I went to install the Mishimoto adapter, but there's a bit of a problem. So first off, this is a universal kit. I don't believe they make a Hyundai one. Where I bought this from was a, Hyundai aftermarket part place. They sell aftermarket parts for Hyundai. They claim it's universal, and there's no notes anywhere in there saying you're going to have this problem. So here's the kind of problem. This is the oil tube, the factory oil tube, and you can see this big shiny piece right here. That is how thick that stock one is. Okay, that's great. So you need these threads to be in the block. The 2 adapters they sent are not threaded on that side, and you would assume that they're supposed to thread into this. Well, even tighten down, that's as tight as I can get it. It doesn't even tighten down. So this clearly isn't the correct setup. Again, there's no instructions, and I've Googled and I've looked all over the internet today trying to figure out what I've done wrong. And so far, I can say nothing. So it would seem I need a new oil pipe, but I don't know what this piece is actually called. I can't figure it out. So I'm going to do some more research. So I need a new one of these. I've reached out to Mishimoto. I've sent them an email explaining to them the problem I'm having, and asking them if they sell an adapter. I looked over their website. I didn't see it. I don't know what this is called, but I've looked through all their universal kits, and there's no mention of this pipe thing. I did see one other person on the internet that had posted a video, and they were having a similar issue, but theirs was more of a threaded issue where the threads weren't lining up to be able to mount it to their particular application. So I need to figure out what this piece is called, and I need to figure out what I need to do, because initially, after messing around with this for a couple hours, I thought, well, maybe I'm supposed to put the stock cooler, but leave the stock cooler in there, and this would be below it. But then when I put the adapter on, it doesn't get tight enough no matter what I do. So the next part will be, I'm going to go ahead and pull the front bumper off so that I have a little bit more room to work, and then I can mount up the oil cooler and find a bracket. So basically I have to put my cold pipe back in where it belongs, so I know exactly where I have room to play with. I'm thinking that I may remove my fog lights. I don't use them. I don't drive this car except at the track, and I never use them there either. But then I could open up that grill piece, and then I would have more room for the oil cooler to be sitting there and get air. So that might be an option. But again, I'm going to have to play around with this a little bit and see what I'm going to do. All right, so I have been searching and searching the internet looking for a 20 by 1.5 oil nipple, whatever you want to call it. That's about 1.5 inches long. Can't find any. The ones I found are M20 on one side, M22 on the other. So this thing is about $14 if I screw it up. So I'm going to ordered a die, and I'm going to thread this down so that I have about 1.5 inches or more of threads, and then I'm going to cut it off, and that is going to be what I use to connect to the adapter for my oil cooler. That's the best I can do at this point. So hopefully it gets here tomorrow, and I can get this threaded. The other option would be to take it to a machine shop and have them do it, because I'm sure they have the tool. But damn, I hate it when the thing won't hold still. So yeah, that's what we're going to try. If not, I really don't want to put that stock oil cooler back in, because that means I have to put the coolant lines back together. Not what I want to do. All right, so this is your my stock oil nipple, oil passage tube, whatever you want to call it. This shiny part here is where the stock oil filter sit, the oil cooler sits, and this part goes in the block. That part gets threaded onto your oil filter. The problem is the Mishimoto one, the cooler part, isn't as thick as this, so this doesn't tighten up enough. And I have scoured the internet trying to find a solution. I haven't found one. So this is an M20 by 1.5. I tried to find 1.5 inches or whatever length, just M20 bolt or threaded hold bolt, whatever you want to call this stupid ass thing. Couldn't find one. So I went ahead and picked up a M20 by 1.5 die, and I'm going to try to thread this down, and then I'm going to cut it off and just use the threaded part, and that should be enough to use the adapter that came in the kit to thread on, and then thread it into the block and make a nice sandwich, I hope. Luckily, this part's only about 20 bucks, so if I screw it up and I have to put the stock oil cooler back on, I can, but I'm hoping I can get this to work. So we will see. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grind down this built-in washer so that I can get a good bite on this with my vise, and then I'm going to put a big ass socket on it and see about turning it, hopefully. So I'll pick it up after I've either destroyed it or made a new part. Okay, so this is working pretty good as far as grinding that down. Just taking a little bit at a time. Starting to get a little warm. So I'm going to cool this off for a second and then finish doing that third side and get these other ones down. Then I can get the socket all the way down on that so I don't have to worry about it slipping. All right, so About 10 minutes worth of grinding. I took that washer piece off, and now it's just a nice big bolt, so it'll give me something to put in my vise. And let's see if this works. So it seems to be working. I'm getting good shavings. It's going down. I'm doing about 4 or 5 turns and then backing it off, cleaning it, doing it again. So I'm hoping to get about 1.5 inches or over 1.5 inches of threads, and then I'll hack it off and just use that piece as the part that I need. Well, surprisingly enough, that cut pretty good. Looks like I got good threads all the way down. I'm gonna go get the sandwich and see how much threads I have between the sandwich and the nut here. If I've got at least that much, I should be able to get that into the block and I won't have to worry about it. So let's check that, and then I just gotta cut it, and then the way I'll do that will be I'll put this in the vise with the die threaded on, cut it, and then take the die out off the end, and it should give me a nice clean end. But let me go get the sandwich spacer. All right, it looks like I will have plenty of threads to go into the block. So we're going to go ahead, take this off, and go to my chop saw and cut the end of that off. All right, so apparently the last group of videos I did, I had the mic on mute the whole time, didn't know that, so having to put some voiceover just to sort of explain what I was doing. So what I think I've come up with, I kind of like the layout of what I've got right here as far as where the pipe lays. I don't mind cutting a small hole in that plastic if I have to. What I think I'm going to do is come up with a way to use something similar to these brackets, or I have some more of them, and some sort of clamp to give this some support, probably one on this side and one on this side. That will give everything a little bit more stability, and I will have a little less rattling from things like rubbing up, like right there. I'll be able to move things around. So I think that's how I'm going to do the upper. I kind of like the way the pipe is up and off of everything now. I'm going to put the intercooler basically here in the front. I'm going to move my tow hook to the middle. Then once I have that all set, I will figure out what I have to do to get that pipe to reconnect, whether I need a new elbow, a longer one of some kind. And then I have to address tightening up the bottom and getting it off the motor. Might have to put a couple of dents in it just to see what I have to make room. So that's going to take a couple of days, I think, to sort that out. I'm going to order the clamps today. They're supposed to be here tomorrow. I think I've come up with a solution to mount my valve here. I'm just going to mount it, make some sort of bracket and sort of mount it. There's a hole right here I can use to support that. And then these wires go to some stuff over here, so it's zip tied to get that up out of the way. And then maybe if I can find I don't think I have any wire loom left here in the house, so maybe I'll have to find some, and then I can clean up all these wires right through here with just another big piece of wire loom, so it looks a little nicer. So that's going to solve that problem, I think. So yeah, trying to think here. What else do I need to concern myself with? Yeah, so I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna order the clamps, get that here tomorrow. Get this upper pipe sorted out and tight, move some things around, and then I think I may even use a couple of these clamps to support the intercooler. I think that might work. So that's be what I'm going to kind of focus on today, is moving this out of the way, probably take it completely off for now, figuring out where I'm going to put the intercooler, and go from there, and maybe try to get it at least mounted, and maybe the hoses set up so that they're where I want them to be. So yeah, that's kind of it. So be back in a bit. Okay, I'm gonna test fit this real quick. Okay, so still test fitted. This isn't tight yet. Got the two lines hooked up. I have them sort of running out that side for right now. But it looks like I might be able to clear everything once I get the clamps on all that stuff. I should be able to figure out a way to make that work. I'm going to go up front and pull the lines kind of where they might sit and give me an idea of what kind of plumbing I'm going to have to do to secure everything. Okay, so I got the two hoses kind of laid through there. This is just sort of in there for right this second. I don't want this thing that far over. I want it more over this way. I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with these lines. I might need to come up with an angled adapter to get them to drop down some. I guess another option would be to cut the lines for a more true fit. I'm not sure if I want to get into that. So yeah, we'll have to see how things lay out once I make the bracket to hold the oil cooler. But yeah, it looks like if I go between the bar and just let that kind of be in the middle, that should be okay. It won't rub on anything. Just figuring out, I want to be more on this side of the clamp, or with this clamp anyway, so that it's more this way. But either way, not too bad. Yeah, the next part is just making sure that all the hoses aren't rubbing on something like the intercool pipe or plastic back up in there. So there's going to be some adjusting that needs to happen, but it's a start. We're moving in the right direction. All right, I'll be back from the parts store shortly. All right, so I've got the oil cooler mocked into place. I believe this will clear my front bumper. If not, I can always scoot it over a little bit so that it does. But I kind of went in the same direction that the intercooler pipe went, so I'll be able to hopefully clear all the stuff and have plenty of room, and then I'll just have to make sure that it's not rubbing on anything. This is really stable. Once I tighten these down completely, I don't think it's going to move at all. I did go, because this bar has actually got a curve in it, I went on the front side for this bolt and on the back side, so that it brings the oil cooler more level. That way air will flow directly through it instead of kind of at an angle. Hopefully that'll help. I still do need to bleed it, so that will be something I need to do. I have to order up some oil, because apparently, just like I used up all my oil filters, apparently I used up all my oil, so I will be ordering oil so I can do an oil change on this beast as well. But I finally can see the light at the end of the tunnel, starting to get things to line up where I want them. Now it's just a matter of making sure everything fits back together. I did order a driver's side inner fender, so it should be here. I think it said October 2nd or 3rd. So by the time I'm ready to put this car back together, I should have the inner fender, and it won't look like the one that's all chewed up over there. And then I'm going to figure out a way to make those front clips more secure, because they're just the plastic clips, and I want to be able to screw those on so that that does not happen again. So I'll be thinking about that as well. All right, what can I do next? All right, so I went ahead and swapped out the regular nuts for the Lochner, whatever, and put those on there, so that's on there nice and tight, not going anywhere. And then like I said, I'm just, I'll wait for the parts to come in tomorrow, and then I will finish trying to tighten up those lines down at the oil cooler itself, and then I will fill these lines from here with oil. We'll go that route. All right. Okay, I guess that's it for right now. I did pick up some of these guys here to run those lines through once everything is finalized. So couldn't find any orange, so I found this red. Close enough. I guess I could have went with black, but I'm going to pay for anodized aluminum. I don't know why I do it in black. All right, so that's where we're at. So I'm going to, yeah, it was funny. Earlier I was looking for the sandwich spacer, and I forgot I was using it, well, as a brace for the intercooler pipe. I looked all over for it. Jeez, can't believe it walked off. Yeah, sometimes when you put stuff down, you got to remember what you did with it. All right. Yeah, I think that's it for today. We're just waiting for parts now.